Great. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Scottsdale Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today's date is, it's Saturday, and it's the 30th of November, 2024. My name is Johan, and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater from Sweden, and I will be your host for today's study. Our co-hosts today are Maria and Sue. Thank you so much for service. If you have any questions during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts by private message in the chat function. The chat function will be disabled until 5 minutes before the questions and answer session. Please note that the speaker Harlan G will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the questions and answer session which follows will not be recorded. We ask if you can please make sure to keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's study. And also please turn off your video if you're exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from your screen for any reason. During the meeting, we will post the link to our 7th tradition. This money goes towards the cost of our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup and WSO. We will post a link to the previous week's recordings. These are available by clicking on the link that will be posted in the chat box. So, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the man, the myth, the concept that we'll be waiting for, Mr. Harlan G. Hey, man. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Johan, for that fabulous introduction. I don't know how to live up to it. It is a beautiful day here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's going to be 76 degrees for those who are keeping score, and there's not a cloud in the sky. So we have a lot of stuff here going on. We are going to be talking about step 11 today. And what I'd like to do today is give you the history of step 11, but I want to clear up some of the misconceptions of step 11 and where we sometimes as a group make it more complicated than it needs to be. One thing I am going to throw out there to the group, though, 2 basic announcements. Number 1, if you can keep your camera on, it is infinitely more inviting to people when they see people at the meeting rather than just a bunch of this, black boxes with names in there. So if you could keep your camera on, it really is a lot more inviting to people. Number 2, the OA birthday is coming in January. What an exciting convention. If you can make it, it's going to be the 17th, 18th, and 19th of January at the LAX Hilton. What a fabulous opportunity to expand your God Squad, make some new friends, do some exciting sessions. There's going to be a big book session. I'm going to do the history of step 2, how to do step 2, what are some of the common mistakes of step 2, how do we work step 2 in our daily lives, things like that. And there's going to be all kinds of workshops on every step, every tradition. There's going to be opening speakers, closing speakers, dinner speakers. There's a dance. I'm not a dancer, but there's going to be a dance on Saturday night. There's going to be a room where we play board games, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you can make it, go to Los Angeles Overeaters Anonymous Intergroup, LAOAIG, and you can register for the hotel and the convention through the Los Angeles website. So that's just a little information for you. I hope to see you there. I'm going to be there. I hope you can make it too, because I know it's going to be a life-changing event for you. Such a wonderful convention. Okay, step 11 comes to us from the Oxford group. The Oxford groupers were very, very focused on practicing first century Christianity to the best of their ability. They were not in any way, shape, or form concerned with alcoholism. They were not a AA group. They were not in any way that at all. They were people who were practicing first century Christianity to the very best of their ability. And they used prayer and meditation. We're going to start on page 85 at the very bottom of 85, okay? Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. Let's stop right there. When they say meditation, now before I say another word, I want to say something. I am not suggesting that if you do any of the practices, any of the things that I'm going to talk about, that you are in any way incorrect, wrong, or whatever. I'm not suggesting that. All I'm going to tell you is they did not consider meditation sitting with your legs crossed, burning incense, burning a scented candle, chanting, things like that. That is not what they were into at all. When they say meditation, what they mean is not speaking, trying to clear your mind to hear the word of God. Now, when I say the word God, I also want to say, if you are an agnostic, if you are an atheist, whatever you be, whatever you are or are not, it's okay here, because you don't have to pray to my God, nor I have to pray to your God. But I need to pray every day. I am not an agnostic, nor am I an atheist. That doesn't mean that if you are one, you can't recover. Nobody is saying that. Nobody. Jimmy Burwell was an atheist. He recovered. Lots of people are agnostic and atheist. They recover. So I want to cover my bases here. I want to be sure that whatever it is you believe or don't believe, or whatever it is you're doing or not doing, I am not judging you. I am just telling you what they're doing in the book, the Oxford Groupers. And Bill and Bob would eat their breakfast in the summer of 35. Bill was in Akron in May, and he met but he was actually there in April. They were in a proxy fight. He meets Dr. Bob in May after the proxy fell through, and he stayed with the Smiths. Bob's last name was Smith. He stayed with Ann and Dr. Bob Smith throughout June and July, 2 months. He was there with them, and then he came home to New York. So the bottom line is, they would try to get to the hospital, not, excuse me, they would try to get to Akron City Hospital to find a drunk to work with. And Ann Smith would stay at the door. They would pray out of a Bible. They would pray. And she'd say, "Did you boys take your quiet time today?" And they would go back like little kids who had been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And Ann Smith would order them back into the living room to take their quiet time, because they didn't want quiet time. They wanted to get busy. They wanted to get out there. They wanted to get to Akron City Hospital. But when they say meditation, what we are specifically talking about is quiet time. Quiet time. If you burn incense, or you burn a scented candle, and you sit on the ground or on your floor and you chant, or you don't chant, or you sit with your hands like this and you look up at the sky, or you close your eyes, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. That's perfectly okay. But the bottom line is, it is my job to explain to you where they're coming from. Now, this is going to be a step that is going to be very, very pure Oxford group. Okay. Again, Oxford groupers were people practicing first century Christianity to the very best of their ability. And that's what it's about. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. In other words, talking to God and being quiet. Today, we have a very popular thing called two-way prayer. A lot of people you're going to hear this in meetings if you haven't heard it already. Maybe you're already doing it. I don't know. Two-way prayer is basically talking to God and listening to the will of God as it manifests in your head, your heart, your soul. That's all it is. That's all it is. And that is as ancient gets. And as ancient gets. I talk to God, I pray, I listen to God, I am meditating according to what they are describing. Okay? They are not sitting on the floor going, Not that that's wrong. That's okay. But that's not what they were doing. Just so we're clear. Page 85, bottom. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we, top of 86, are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. When we say prayer works, let's talk about something. There's genies in a bottle. There's the lottery. There is Santa Claus. There is, I don't know, we don't have a Hanukkah bunny or a Hanukkah something like that where they run around and pass out toys. At least I'm not aware of it. We the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny. We have all these various things running around at different times of the year, passing out toys and treats for children. We're not talking about you getting what you want. You could sit and pray from now until doomsday. You're probably not going to find a Rolls Royce in your driveway with your name on the title. You got to work for that. You got to go earn that, and you got to go get that. Okay? What we're talking about when we say prayer works is this specifically for me. I cannot describe it for others. I can describe it for me. This is how prayer works in my life. When I pray, and I do every day, when I pray, I feel as if I am communicating with a power of the universe that is the greatest of all powers in the universe, to let that power know that I respect and believe that it, he, she, them, those, it, there, are the power of the universe. I say, this is me. You don't have to, this is me. I call my God Israel. That's one of God's names, is Israel. And so I say, Israel, it's me. I'm scared today. I'm hurting today. I'm this today. I'm that today. And I pray. Now, some of the prayers that I say are not really prayers. I use a meditation. I use different things. I don't want to tell you what I do specifically, just like I don't want to discuss my food plan, because no sooner do I tell you what I do in step 11 that you're going to think that what you're doing is wrong and you're going to get angry. I've experienced that many times in the past. That's why I stopped doing it. How did I get to the point where I found out what I do for step 11? I Googled stuff. Prayer and meditation. There's guided meditations online. I use those for years. There are prayers in the big book that mean something to me. I use those. I use certain things out of my religious training from childhood. You can use those. I use those. But maybe you're a different religion than me. Use the ones that are germane to you. There's no wrong answer here. The only wrong way to do step 11 is not to do it at all. I'm going to say that again because it's important. The only wrong way to do step 11 is not to do it at all. I have to pray. I have to tell God what's in my soul and in my heart. And most of the time, I feel so much better when I've done that. So much better when I've done that. And he listens and he says to me very quietly, you're going to be okay. I may not get the results I want. I still have to work. I'm 70. I can't retire. I don't have the money. I don't have the income to retire. I wish I did. I still am not in certain places of life that I'd love to be. But you know what? I have a good life. I have a life worth living. And you know what? I like me and I like God. If I can make it another month to December the 29th, this is the last day of November. Can you believe that? 2024, last day of November 2024. Man, according to the doctors, I should have been dead decades ago. But the bottom line is that I have a good life. If I can make it to December 29th, 2024, I will have 26 years of beautiful abstinence. I've lost over 500 pounds. I walk 3 miles 6 days a week. I go to meetings every single day. I help others. And by doing that, I have a really good life in a lot of ways. I have a good life. I pray every day. I pray every day. And throughout the day, the 10th step prayer, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. Goes through my heart and head many, 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 many times each day. Let's go back to the top of page 86, shall we? It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. The proper attitude for me cannot be, I'm going to go quo vid pro with God. What does that mean? Quid pro quo, not quo vid pro. Quid pro quo. What does quid pro quo mean in Latin? You do this and I'll do that. I'll pray, but you better bring me the lottery numbers for the Powerball. You better bring me what I want. You better set life up so that everything I want is there for me. And you better exalt me over and above the rest of humanity. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. I am terminally human. And as a human, there are things I want that are beyond my ability to obtain them. You know what else I'd like? I'd like that not to be 70. I'd like to be 10 or 5 and go all over again with another chance to do it right this time. It doesn't work that way. And because it doesn't work that way, my job today is pass what I have in knowledge to the other people. Pass what I have. One of the greatest things that I can do today is talk to people that are struggling and show them how I overcame the difficulties they describe. And if I can do that, I can do a lot. It says in my part of what you would call the Bible, it says you save one life, you save the world. Save one life, you save the world. You have that opportunity today to save the world by saving one life. If you can prevent one person from wallowing, notice I didn't say living, wallowing and existing in the hell and fury and torture of this horrible disease, this most horrible quagmire of a disease, you can save the world. Let's go back to page 86. So the proper attitude isn't bring me a Rolls Royce, bring me the lottery numbers, bring me whatever, bring me this, bring me that, do this, kill him, kill them, give misfortune to him, give misfortune to her. Doesn't work that way. Thank God it doesn't work that way, or we'd probably all be dead. Probably at one time or another, some person said, I hate that person, kill them, smite them, and we'd all be dead, wouldn't we? There wouldn't be any human beings. There'd be one person left in the whole world, right? The last person standing, shut off the lights. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. Start where you are. The only wrong way to do step 11 is not to do it at all. Start somewhere. You're confused? What I did was I went online. I Googled it. This is going back now 30 years ago, maybe. I had to get into computers. I'm not usually at the cutting edge of anything. I had a daughter, and she was born in 1994. And by the time she was a child, a toddler, she had a mouse in her hand, and she was clicking on every Barbie doll and every Ariel from the Little Mermaid doll you could get. She was clicking on everything. I had plenty of times that computer would go down because she'd be clicking on things you shouldn't click on. What was I going to do? She was a little girl. And I went on there and I did guided meditations. But even before that, I did just stuff out of the big book. And I used to write letters to God in the morning. I do that now, but not every day. But if you don't do it, are you wrong? No. If you do it, are you right? No. It's what you do. It's what you're comfortable doing. The only wrong way to do it is not to do it at all. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to say what I say. Okay. When we retire at night. Okay. Classic question. I'm going to head it off right now. Why is the nighttime portion before the daytime portion? Because they assume you've been doing step 10 all day long. And so they're going to pick it up at night. That's why. That is specifically why. When we retire at night. Now, I am 70 years old. I'm going to let you in on a little secret, but you can't tell anybody. I do step 11 before I'm actually going to sleep, because when I get to the point of going to sleep, I'm too tired to know what my name is. I'm too tired to know what day of the week it is. I'm too tired. I go until I can't go anymore. So for me, I do step 11, this paragraph in my head, and that's all that's required. One of the misconceptions about step 11 is that this is something that you write and email to somebody. You can do that. That's fine. But there's nothing in this big book that would suggest any writing in step 11. No suggestion of it at all. None, zero, nada. Nada. And are you wrong or bad if you write out your step 11 at night and send it to your sponsor or send it to your prayer partner? Nope. Nope, but it's not required. Let's keep going. We constructively review our day. Now, I hate to keep stopping, but I'm going to do it. One of the things that the big book wants you to do is constructively live your life. A hammer to your own head is not one of the tools of recovery. A lot of people use step 11 to beat themselves unmercifully with the things that they did wrong, and they just beat themselves unmercifully. Nothing in this book, nothing in this program, nothing in my life improves when I wail on myself. I make mistakes. I get scared. I get angry. I panic. I'm human. Beating myself is not going to change any of it. Doesn't change it. So it says very clearly, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Again, how many character defects are there? 5. You may think you can call me up and say you have 102,000 character defects, but you don't. What you have is 5 character defects. He leaves out self-seeking as he did in step 10. Selfish always is the leader for me, because what triggers my anger, my fear, is someone or something didn't stick to my script. That is the very first thing to come into consciousness. It's not going my way. You have selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, resentful, and fear. Those are the 5 character defects. I'll go through it again. Dishonest, self-seeking, selfish, resentment, fear. Those are the 5 character defects. You may have 100,000 behaviors: jealousy, coming late to work, yelling at the dog, yelling at your husband, yelling at your wife, not being able to hold on to a job. Those are behaviors that emanate from these defects. Okay? There's a difference between a behavior that emanates from defects. I can be very jealous and full of self-pity. Are those defects? No. Jealousy is fear and anger sort of intermingled for me. And what else did I say? Jealousy. Oh, self-pity. Self-pity is another. It's a sort of a marriage between fear and anger. Things didn't go my way, and I'm engaging in self-pity because I want to beat myself. I want to feel sorry for myself, to sort of send out the bat signal to God that he's not on his game. And you owe me, God. You didn't give me that girl. You didn't give me those parents. You didn't give me that house, whatever. You didn't give me a thin body. Well, now you owe me, God. Guess what? God's laughing at me because it's not true. You know why I didn't have a thin body? I figured it out. It only took me 70 years. I didn't have a thin body because God had a job for me to do. And the job that he's going to do is, I'm writing a book. It's not done yet, but me and my lady friend are writing a book. And it's going to be a good book about recovery and my journey through the 12 steps, things like, I think it's going to help a lot of people. I think it's going to be great. And he didn't give me a thin body so I could be here this morning, and maybe something I'm going to say today is going to help you. Maybe. I hope it does. I hope it does. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Yes, no questions. Don't beat on yourself about it. They have a name for people that get resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid during the day. They are called human beings. They're not called compulsive overeater. They're called human beings. This is part of the human condition. Do not beat yourself for any reason, but certainly do not beat yourself for being a human being. You're human. Have we kept something to ourselves which, do we owe an apology? Sorry. Do we owe an apology? If we do, make it. You don't have to make it when you're getting ready to go to bed, but make it as soon as you can. Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? I am as sick as my secrets. I had a very, very wonderful man tell me on a very, very miserable February day in Chicago in 1980. He said to me, if everywhere you went today, everything you said today, everything you ate and drank today, everything about your life, maybe not the bathroom stuff, but if everything about your life was on the front page of the Chicago Tribune, are you okay with that? That is the best barometer of am I in recovery? When I find myself in relapse, when I find myself in the disease, I find myself in situations where I want things kept secret. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that today, my life is an open book. You don't have to wonder if I'm lying to you, because I'm not. It's not worth it. I don't want to eat Reese's peanut butter cups because I wanted to image manage you. I don't want to eat Reese's peanut butter cups or pizza because I want you to like me or I want you to not abandon me. I don't go places I'm ashamed of. I don't do things I'm ashamed of. I don't say things I'm ashamed of. Sometimes I say a lot of things that piss people off because I won't tell them what they want to hear. If you pray, you're going to win the lottery. And if you pray, you get the girl or boy of your choice. And if you pray, Santa Claus is going to bring you a Bentley. I'm not going to tell you that. Those things are not true. And if you're on the Scottsdale meeting or you're even here on Saturday, I have to tell people things they don't want to hear all the time. They may be mad at me, but I'm upstairs sleeping like a baby because I'm not going to lie to you. I won't do it. I won't do it. Okay, can I eat pizza and still be in recovery? No. Can I eat pizza and still be a sponsor? No. Can I recover and not sponsor? No. Anything else? It'll come up. Don't worry about it. It always does. Okay. Have we kept something to ourselves that should be discussed with another person at once? By the way, don't get old. I used to be able to read words like this from across a football field. I can't do it anymore. There's more lights on in this room than there are on a Hollywood set. I've had the RK surgery, the cataract and the corrective things, but I still need tons of light to see this stuff. Isn't that something? You know, they say they're going to restore your vision, but they can't make you 18 years old again, can they? Okay. Were we kind and loving toward all? This is another sentence which can evoke a lot of self-abuse. This is another sentence where a lot of people will go off on a tangent and just beat themselves in the head. 70 years ago, just about, there used to be a commercial for Anacin aspirin. Got a headache, and they would show a thing where they would beat the guy in the head. You know, they'd beat him in the head, and there'd be a spring, and there'd be all kinds of stuff. This is something that can produce a lot of headaches. Were we kind and loving toward all? Be careful there. It's another way of being positive or using it to hurt yourself. In other words, go back to that word constructively. Are you being constructive with your 11th step and your life? Very important. Very, very important. Okay? So were you kind and loving toward all? Okay? What could we have done better? Take it easy on yourself. We all make mistakes, but what could you have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? If you're human, probably. But just consider, where was I thinking about other people? Very important. Or were we thinking about what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? A lot of people ask the question, what does that mean, pack into the stream of life? It means, what did you do for others? To pack into the stream of life means, what did you do for other people? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection. That's the second time he's going to mention that in this paragraph, for that would diminish our usefulness to others After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. And what seems to be one of the biggest things about life that kills the alcoholic? Perfectionism. There's no question in here that says, was I perfect? There's no question in the fourth step that says, fearless and thorough and perfect inventory. I cannot hold myself to the standard of what I consider to be perfectionism. Remember that as compulsive overeaters, we are immature, sensitive, perfectionistic rebels. We are sensitive, immature, perfectionistic rebels. So if I can't be perfect, I want to throw my hands in the air and say, screw this. I'm out of here and I'm going back to eating, and I die never having lived. There's nothing in this paragraph, there's nothing in this book, and there's nothing in this life that demands anything close to perfectionism. So if the ego also says, if I can't be perfectly good, I'll be perfectly bad. The ego wants to go to extremes. The ego has three jobs. Make me right, make me feel good right now, and make me different from everybody else. And if everybody else in my mind is perfect at doing these things, and I'm not perfect at doing these things, well, then I'm not going to do them at all. My perception that they are perfect at doing them is false. And my perception that if I can't be perfect, I'm not gaining value out of life is also wrong. It's also false. Perfectionism gets in the way a lot. Let's go to the next paragraph on page 86. On awakening. Now, I don't know about you, but my bladder, it demands attention before anything else, including God. When I get up in the morning, there are two things I'm thinking about. Number one, I'm thinking about where is the phone so I can shut off the alarm. Number two, I got to get up and I don't want to. I got to get up and go to the bathroom. Bladder before God. Bladder before God. That's the only thing that takes precedence over God. I don't always do my step 11 right when I wake up, and I very seldom do. I take my walk, which is very meditative for me. I'm listening to vision during my walk, but I'm also thinking about God. I'm watching the sunrise come over the desert, and it's awe-inspiring. At the time that vision is on, the sun is not quite up yet, but I'm seeing little tangents, little rays of sunlight, little rays of light, and it's awe-inspiring. It's amazing, just incredible. Wow. I'm often inspired by God. I'm awestruck by God. And then I come home and I take care of it. I sit down right where I'm sitting right now, and I do it. Do I sometimes think about the Cubs? Do I sometimes think about romance? Do I sometimes think about this or think about what's on TV? Yes. Yes, I'm a human being. Yes. But I try not to. But I do sometimes. My mind wanders. What day is it? Saturday. Oh, college football all day today. Wow. I'm going to watch this game and I'm going to watch that game, and I'm going to root for this team. I'm going to root against that team, whatever that may be. The Ducks are number one in the nation right now. You bet your bippy I'm going to be watching all the games that can affect them. And at 5:30, the Ducks are on NBC here in Arizona. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. In other words, you don't sit and think about the 10 years ahead or the 20 years ahead. Think about the 24 hours ahead. That's all we have. That's all we got. You know, you never know. You just never know. I have a friend of mine who lives in the Bay Area. He struggles. He had a heart attack last 2 weeks ago at work. You know, his whole life got turned upside down. He's just going home today from the hospital. No, he coded on the table and they had to give him CPR and they cracked some of his ribs when they were doing it. Poo-poo happens, guys. Poo-poo happens. But all you got is 24 hours. That's all you got. We consider our plans for the day. Today, I'm going to watch. I've got enough groceries, and I'm going to watch college football virtually the rest of the day. But I will take and make outreach calls, 10-step calls. Anybody has any problems, questions? My phone is on. Not a problem. It's not the end of the world to miss. And I have a pause button on my television set. Not the end of the world. What are my plans for the day? Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. This is very important. If I am going to pray for selfish things, my own selfish ends, that's not going to go well for me. If I am going to try to manipulate God, and I've done it, I'll do this, God, quid pro quo. I'll do this and I'll call this person and I'll do that. Could I have the Powerball numbers for Saturday night? I'll do this, this, and this, God. By the way, that Bentley that I saw the other day, the black Bentley that was driving down Scottsdale Road, could I have one? That's probably not going to work very well for me. Probably not going to happen. Probably not. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. What is the number one thing I can think? God's got this. Why don't I just make this call? God's got this. Why don't I just go to the meeting? God's got this. My management, my manipulation has never produced results that I have been happy with. Never. I've got to stay out of things as best I can because God has the big picture. I don't. I say this a lot, but it's the best example I could give you. I love Lake Michigan. And when I go to Chicago, I love to go to Lake Michigan. And there's a place in a suburb called Glencoe, and they have benches overlooking Lake Michigan. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, you're picturing a lake you can walk across, not walk across, but walk around or boat around in one day. This ain't it. This is 319 miles long and 196 miles wide. And at certain places, it is 900 feet deep. There are ocean-going vessels at the bottom of it. There are airplanes at the bottom of it. There are many, many drownings in there. It's an inland sea. It's an inland ocean. It's fresh water, but it is an inland ocean. And when you sit on these benches, you think, if you don't know, you think you're seeing the lake. But because of the curvature of the earth and the distance that you can only see, you're seeing just a percentage of the lake. You're seeing just a small part of it. It goes from Wisconsin to Illinois, from Illinois to Indiana, from Indiana to Michigan, and up. You can't see across it. The curvature of the earth won't let you. Why am I talking about this? The reason that I'm talking about this is the best thought I can remind myself of is God sees the big picture and I don't. I think I see the big picture, but I don't. God does. I don't. The curvature of the earth and the limitation of eyesight make it impossible to see the whole lake. It's not possible. Even if you're at the top of the Hancock building, even if you're at the top of the Willis Tower, you cannot see the entire thing. It's impossible. You can see a lot of it from up there, yeah, no question, but you can't see the whole thing. Let's keep going. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. Wow. Wow. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when I'm not constantly thinking and belly aching about what I want and what I don't have. When I was a little boy, I was 5 years old, maybe 4, maybe 6, I don't remember. I went with my mother. My mother had to go to the Social Security office on the north side of Chicago. I don't remember why. No way. It was 65 years ago. And I wanted baseball cards. I nagged her. She got me baseball cards. Then I wanted bubble gum. She got me bubble gum. Then I wanted something else. I don't remember what it was. So she took my hand and she jerked me and she said, Azoy gatus, my son, Azoy gatus, my son. What does that mean? It means in Yiddish, there's always something with you. You always want something. Just be grateful for what you have. You've got cards, and I bought you this, and you have this. You always want something. And you know what? My mother was not a psychiatrist or a therapist, but man, she nailed that diagnosis. For the rest of my life, I have to battle by giving it to God, this idea in my head that I always want to be somewhere I'm not. I seldom want to be where I am. And I always want something that I can't have. And it's a source of unhappiness for me. I have to have God's help. So when I'm not thinking about what I don't have, what I want, where I want to go, what I want, me, when I'm not thinking about that, I'm a much happier person. And what happens to me as I help others and I start to hear their story. I talked about this in step 5. I talked about this in step 9, the great emancipators. When I hear other people tell me about their life, their thoughts, their actions, it helps me learn who I am, and I feel less apart from humanity and more a part of humanity. And that's so important, is to feel like I'm going to sit all the way down, come all the way in, and sit all the way down in OA. I am one of you. I'm different mentally. I'm different physically, but I'm not different from you. And I have a place to go where I can be one of many. It's one of the reasons I love the birthday. I come in and there's 1,500 people just like me. That's a gift from God. But if I'm going to sit in the birthday or sit in my skin or sit here with you and lament that I don't have a Mercedes and I don't have this and I don't have that, my mother is going to come from the other world and say, Azoy gatus, my son, Azoy gatus. It's always something with you. Boy, was she right. Boy, was she right. And if I'm not careful, that wanting, that inability to fill a God-sized hole with earthly things will drive me away from God into the food in search of relief from that untenable, absolutely painful situation of not eating. And my hand will pick up the food, and for about 9 seconds, I'm going to feel fantastic because I'm going to get the effect from the food. And then I'm going to trigger the physical allergy, and I'm going to eat more of that food than I had originally intended. And I will do that until I'm dead. The mind telling me it's okay to eat, demanding the food, and the body ensuring that once that food is inside of me, My body will make it impossible for me to control my intake, and I will die never having lived. This is a vital step. Let's continue. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. That's normal. We may not be able to determine which course to take. We're confused. We don't know. We ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. Every single time I want to know the answer to this question, I will tell you the same answer. How do I know the difference between my will and God's will? See, I took that question away from some of you, and I knew I was going to get that question later. So I figured I would proactively address it now. My will is usually a struggle. I want to force something into the equation where I am going upstream. I use river metaphors and lake metaphors because I lived in Eugene, Oregon for 9 years. No lakes there, but rivers. And I lived in Chicago for my whole life up until then. And there's lakes, no rivers. We have the Chicago River, we have the Illinois River, but basically it's a lake. When I am in my will, I am swimming upstream. Every effort is Herculean, and I'm getting doors shut in my face constantly, and some of them I'm smashing through, and some I can't. When I do God's will, I go downstream, and everything seems much easier. I'm writing this book. Things are coming along. They're coming along well. Okay, now I want a Bentley. Now I want whatever. Now I'm going to have to swim upstream. Now I'm going to have to swim upstream. See how that works? God's will, easy peasy most of the time. It still takes work. My will, oh my God, the effort is just unbelievable. I'm like Sisyphus. Who is Sisyphus? Sisyphus pissed off Zeus, I guess. And Zeus condemned Sisyphus to push a boulder up to the top of the hill. And he told Sisyphus that if he pushed the boulder to the top of the hill and it stayed there, then he'd be done with his sentence. And for an eternity, Sisyphus pushes the boulder up to the top of the hill. And what happens to the boulder once it's at the top of the hill? Rolls back down. And he has to repeat this process for eternity. I am like Sisyphus. I keep fighting the same battles that don't exist, and I keep trying to achieve modicums of control over other people and what they think and what they do. I'm like Sisyphus. I'm pushing the boulder up the hill for an eternity, and every time I get the boulder up to the top of the hill, it just rolls back down again, and I'm screwed. So don't be like Sisyphus. Don't be a fool. Seek God's will. Do God's will. He'll take care of it. Don't try to push your will onto God or another person. That's why they have a program, just to back you off out of trying to control another person or other people. Are you sponsoring someone and their abstinence, their recovery means more to you than it does to them? That's the allonotic condition in its active form. Are you trying to get somebody to like you that may not? Are you whatever it is for you? I don't know. Let's continue. We relax and take it easy. That's an instruction, not a commentary. Relax. Take it easy. God's got your back. He knows that it's hard to be human. He created you. Give him a chance. See if his way isn't better. Relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. When I'm struggling, I'm in self-will. My mother made me cry that day. She jerked my arm. I want bubble gum. I want a yo-yo. I want more baseball cards. I didn't get Ernie Banks. I always wanted to get Ernie Banks. I could never get him. I want to get more Cubs in the baseball card package. Well, you get what you get. My mother wasn't in control of who's in the baseball card package. She bought. They were a nickel then. Now I think they're like $43,000. But she bought me the baseball cards just to shut me up. I didn't get Cubs. I didn't get any Cubs. Well, what do you want her to do? Okay. Azoy Gatus Maizun. Boy, was that a good diagnosis. We are often surprised how the right answers have come after we have tried this for a while. Trust God. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All right. Well, we're going to finish up the top of 87. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. How did I get so good at step 11? By doing them a million times. That's how you get good at anything. And once again, because I say a certain prayer or I don't say a certain prayer, that's not a judgment. And that's why I don't answer that question. I go to Google, I get ideas on guided meditations. There are certain prayers, certain things I say that I enjoy. They're all over there. You're different. You have a different background. You have a different religion. You have different needs. You have different wants, different desires. You got to find out what works for you, not what works for me. Okay? Being still in experience and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. You're going to make mistakes. You know why? You're a human being. Human beings make mistakes. I make them every day. I got whiteout over here. I got eraser over here. I got a pen. Here's my, where is it? Yeah, here. I got my eraser right here, my big eraser. Why do I have an eraser? Because sometimes I write stuff in pencil and I make a mistake, especially when it comes to math. I'm screwed. But I want to say that today is yet another day when my knowledge of algebra and geometry have not come into play. Hopefully, I won't need algebra or geometry for the rest of today. So that's a good day. If I don't have to do algebra or know anything about algebra or geometry, I'm good. I'm good. Okay. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, that's a promise, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. God's promise is 100% good. God never makes a promise he doesn't keep. If you keep working at this, you keep trying, you're going to see improvements in your life. That's not my promise. It's God's promise. If you keep doing this, our thinking will, as time passes and work is put in, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. You can trust the word of God. You can trust the promise of God. You can and you should. And after time, you will. Now, a few things before I turn this over. We're going to, next week's first paragraph on page 87, we are going to discuss pure Oxford group. Pure Oxford group. Okay? So next week, we're going to get into that. And we're going to continue our study of step 11 tomorrow. And I'm hoping that you will come back. But before we shut this down, before I turn this back to Johan or Sue or Maria, I'm not quite sure who, or Audrey or whoever's here, I don't remember. But before we do that, the birthday register OALAIG OA Los Angeles Intergroup Okay. It's a wonderful, wonderful convention. And I hope that I don't have the wherewithal to check and to this, and because I'm trying to think of what I'm saying. But if you could, when you're here, keep your camera on, it really is a lot more inviting. Our numbers are coming up for the Saturday morning Big Book study. Our numbers are coming up. We're gaining people. So I'm really, really happy about that. I wasn't sure, should we change the time? Then we changed it. Should we change it back? I wasn't really sure. So I'm praying on it. But God is showing me through increased numbers that this time frame seems to work well. It seems to be okay. So we're going to just stay where we are for right now. And I will